All right, guys, welcome back to Elevate El Paso. Today we have found our way down to Zen Martial Arts Center.
Dojo?
Dojo, there you go. And we're going to be speaking with Mandoo Rosales and Luis Alvarado. This is one of those moments that it means a lot to me. First of all, we usually talk about how there is a lack of role models in our society. And much of the reason for that is because most of us aren't aware of the fact that we are all role models to somebody. Whether we are aware of it or not, somebody's always looking at us, somebody's always looking up to us. This is one of those moments where I get the privilege of interviewing one of those guys who, as a kid, was one of my role models. I actually got to go to middle school and high school with Mando. And Luis, who I just met, is his partner at the school. Guys, tell us a little bit about the school, how long you've been open, and what you guys are all about.
I could say we've been open a little less than a month. The main thing for us is that we wanted to build a school for the kids. You know, we wanted to build around our community and have somewhere where parents can come, watch their kids train, join the kids in their training, and really become a family, a unit. I mean, as soon as you walk in, I don't know if you felt it, it's positive energy. We always have positive vibes and positive energy here. That's why we have the white mats. Everything is we just want everybody to be happy and feel good about themselves when they come train.
Now, Mando, I understand that kids are a big deal to you. This is something that is taking a big part of your life. Can you tell us a little bit about the mission of all this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll start off by saying it's somewhat of a selfish notion in the sense that I hated school since day one. Pre-K, kindergarten, I remember I'd fight my mom in the morning. She would have to throw me in the tub. I mean, I hated school. I hated the bullying. I hated the social structure, and then and home life, man. Home life was it was interesting. So it was one of those things. Like I was kind of in between. Like I didn't want to go to school, and I didn't want to go home, and so I found myself wanting to be a part of something, part of groups. I was a little. It was interesting. I was kind of weird in a way. So I was kind of I bounced around a lot, trying to find myself between groups. A good majority of the time, although it may be hard to believe, I preferred to be alone. I was very introverted as a child, and I had to learn how to be extroverted, how to be, engaged with society. And when I did, I always had to go a little extra because it was an insecurity of mine. So I always had to hide that insecurity. And so when I found martial arts, it just allowed me to express myself with the way I knew how to learn. I think that was the main thing. Is I learned kinesthetically, I learned through movements, mechanical. If I could touch it, I was very intelligent with it. I couldn't sit in a classroom and sit there and not move and look at a lecture. That just wasn't my learning style. And so later, I started realizing like all the different kids that kind of were going through the same thing, and all these labels were being put on them, and so they were getting into trouble. And I was like, you know what? If martial arts worked for me, it's got to work for them. And so that became my goal. It became my mission, is to keep families together, to keep these kids engaged in education through martial arts, and let them know, like, hey, look, there's more than one way to do this. You can go this way, you can go that way. There's more than one way to do this. By nature, we're problem solvers. Humans are problem solvers. And so for me, martial arts is our way to express that. And so that's why it's important to get these kiddos and these families involved.
Yeah, and as you could tell by a little bit of what Mando just said, there was many times when Mando had actually found himself in a bit of trouble growing up in high school and so on. So going back to what I was talking about role models, this is one of those moments where we need to understand that a role model isn't somebody who is perfect. It's somebody who has the initiative to do good, regardless of the attitude or not the attitude, but the ongoings in their lives. Now, Mando, you may not remember this, but at some point, growing up, I didn't get bullied too much because I actually tended to be one of the bigger guys.
I remember.
But I did have guys that were always bigger than me. And growing up, there was one particular guy who I won't mention his name because he happens to be a coach now, so people might actually know him. But he actually loved to brag on me. And it must have been at least 2 or 3 times when you intervened. And it was one of those things where everybody respected you in that crowd, and all you really had to do was say, hey, come on, man, or just a simple phrase, and it changed the whole dynamic. And it allowed me to be able to not just not get bullied, but also be a little bit more involved in other crowds, as well as, for example, there was many times when us that we were a grade younger than them, we were obsessed with basketball.
Yeah.
And some of the older guys wouldn't let us get in the court sometimes. And it wasn't until actually Mando would come around and either play with us or get everybody to a different court and allow us to play that really changed the way that I saw things. And I saw the way that, you know, to be a role model, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to stand up for what's right at the right moment. And that was something that you often did, and I always appreciated it. And it seems to have translated to your business now.
Well, first, thank you. That means a lot, man. That means a lot.
Thank you, actually.
That means a lot. And that's kind of what I mean, man. Like, yeah, just that feeling, right? That's the worst feeling of being picked on, not being accepted. And so people ask, like, why do we do this? Because I don't want others to feel that. It feels horrible. It feels horrible, like horrible. So thank you, man. Thank you for recalling that. I appreciate it.
Beyond middle school, when we were older already, we found ourselves at a nightclub, being teenagers. Same crowd, same guy, same trying to pick on me. And again, all it took was, hey, bro. And all of a sudden, we were there, we were all hanging out, everything was in harmony. So again, it's one of those things where you continuously have to stand up for what's right. Not necessarily be perfect, but do what's right at the right moment. And that allows you to be a role model. Because again, we are all role models. We're all being seen by somebody, whether we're aware of it or not. Now, Luis, has this been something that you've noticed with the younger kids? Is this something that you guys try to instill in them?
Definitely. One thing we like to always instill in them is confidence. A lot of kids come in here, shy, not really sure of themselves. And we bring them here and we challenge them. We force them to interact with other children, with other people, and push them. The thing about jiu-jitsu or MMA or everything we do here is that it challenges them immediately. And it tells them how far they can push themselves. And when they reach that point, we make sure to let them know, you can push yourself even further. And that translates perfectly to life. Right. I mean, once they get out of here, they go to school, they know I can push myself harder in the books. Once they graduate from school, problems in life, marriage, everything, it all translates from here.
So a lot of times we see successful people and we usually think to ourselves, oh, they had it easy. But we now know that, for example, you really didn't have it easy and you've reached a level of success. Can you give us any kind of advice of how to keep that drive, how to be able to stay positive and reach those goals?
Yeah, for sure. So there was love in my household. There was love. We didn't lack love. Was there dysfunction? Absolutely. I mean, which family doesn't have some sort? So we had our issues. And so I guess it was just those two things. One, of not wanting others to be scared of life the way I was, because I was very scared of life, and I always had to put this front on, like, okay, I had to defend myself. I was always in this defense mode. I was always stressed out. I was like, okay, who's the one that's gonna try and come mess with me? Who's the one that I'm gonna have to say something to, stand up to? Who is it? And that's just not it's not a good way to live. It really isn't, especially through elementary, through middle school, through high school, and then it wasn't until later. And the other thing is, I just didn't like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, most of us don't. I don't know anyone that does, but some of us really, really, really do not like to be told what to do. And so I had to find a way that I could live my life accordingly without being a burden to society, bringing a burden to family members, to friends, and this was it. This was a win-win situation. I was doing something positive for others. I was doing something positive for myself, for my family, for my friends, and yeah, it's just a family dynamic. That's the thing here is, we keep the kids together, we keep their families together. So a lot of these kids, it started with them first, and then the parents became a little intrigued. So as you see, look, mom and dad. It's mom and dad, it's mom and dad, it's brothers, it's family. And so I think that's the one thing that sets us apart from a lot of the other places is, we really do focus on the kids and the family second. The kids, the adults, the single adults, we have our fighters, right? We do, because that's another passion of mine is mixed martial arts, and we do have our fighters. But it's about the kids. It's about the families, keeping them together in a positive way.
Now, Luis, if somebody wants to get a hold of you guys or they want to get involved, how do they do so and where do they find you?
Best place to get a hold of us right now is either through social media, Zen Martial Arts ELP on Instagram and Facebook. We also have a website, zenmartialartselp.com. Any one of those is the best way to reach us at any point in time. And we're pretty quick on responding.
Yeah. So, and you can always also, my personal number is 915-799-5776. Call me personally, send me a message. I love to talk, so if we start to talking and you don't have too much time, we're going to get caught talking, so call me personally. It's no big deal at all.
Gentlemen, I appreciate the time and the opportunity to interview you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
And remember, guys, once again, do what's right. Don't necessarily strive for perfection. Strive for doing what's right because you never know when you're changing somebody's mind for the long run.